some people don't disappear from life because they don't care. They disappear because isolation starts feeling safer than people. And we all know how that starts. You stop replying to messages, you cancel plans, you stay in more. People start hearing from you less and less, and from the outside, it can look like you've become distant, rude, or like you just don't give a shit anymore. And maybe you don't, but a lot of the time, that isn't what's happening at all. A lot of the time, you're not pulling away because you want to. You're pulling away because then no one can bother you. And no one can hurt you or trigger your anxiety when you're not around anyone. Despite the loneliness it brings, isolation feels safer. A week passes by and you've barely left your apartment. Haven't seen any friends. Maybe some colleagues. But they're not really friends anyway. And half the time, going to work when you just want to be alone is absolute shit. And when I'm pissed or anxious, I don't give a shit about seeing anyone. For me, isolation becomes my default when I'm stressed or anxious. Some people go looking for others to give them comfort. I go the total opposite way and deep into isolation. Inside, I might feel more content because I'm not getting triggered into anxious spirals, but do I feel happy? Not at all. The hard thing to admit is that isolation does give you something. It gives you relief. Not peace, not happiness, but it gives you relief. Relief from being watched or from having to explain yourself all the time. Relief from trying to act normal when you don't feel normal. Or from that feeling that other people might touch that exact part of you that already feels too raw. And that's why isolation can become so seductive, because when you're anxious, even ordinary contact with people can feel exposing. And you start thinking, if I stay in, I don't have to manage anyone. I don't have to answer questions. I don't have to pretend I'm okay. I don't have to feel that awkwardness of being with people when half of me wants to run. So you stay home. And for a moment, it feels like you've protected yourself. But the problem is, what starts as protection can slowly turn into a habit. And habits are dangerous when they make life smaller. Because the longer you stay home, the more strange people start to feel. Messages feel heavier. Plans feel bigger. Even the idea of seeing someone can start to feel like too much effort, too much explaining, too much exposure. So you isolate more, and then more. And after a while, it starts to feel like this is just who you are now. And that's where it gets painful, because isolation doesn't even mean you don't care. Most of the time, you care a lot. You still think about people. You still miss them. You still want connection. But wanting connection and being able to tolerate it are two totally different things. And that's the horrible part. You can feel lonely and still not want to see anyone. You can miss people and still ignore them. You can want comfort and still pull away from the very people who might give it to you. But the real question then is, what does that actually start doing to your life in general? The longer that goes on, the more life starts carrying on without you. People stop expecting you to come. Sometimes they stop asking altogether, and that hurts. But at the same time, part of you almost feels relieved, because now you don't have to keep saying no. You don't have to keep letting people down. That's one of the strangest parts of anxiety-driven isolation, is that it can make you feel rejected and relieved at the same time. And you start disappearing from things quietly, and not in a dramatic way, just really slowly, until one day you realize you're no longer really part of much at all, or that you don't have any friends left or anyone to turn to when things get really, really tough. And when that happens, your world starts getting smaller in other ways. Like, you stop having new experiences, you stop feeling connected to people's lives, stop feeling involved in anything outside your own head. And the more time you spend alone in that state, the easier it is to start believing that this is just who you are now. That you're just someone who stays in, or someone who's just bad at replying, someone who just can't quite handle life the way other people seem to. And I think it's important to not confuse the kind of isolation that we experience with not caring. A lot of the time, it comes from caring too much, or feeling too much, or being too easily thrown off and trying to protect yourself in the only way you know how. And it's not your fault. But self-protection can slowly start working against you if it goes on for too long. And if that's where you are, I don't think the answer is to suddenly force yourself back into life all at once. I think it's smaller than that. Like one reply, one message, one small reminder to yourself that disappearing entirely isn't the answer. If you try to suddenly jump back into life, go into parties and being an extrovert, you will likely be worse off than where you are now when you're isolating a lot. And you end up feeling inadequate or ashamed or more incapable. The way out of it usually is a lot quieter than people think, in my opinion. It's not suddenly becoming super social again or turning into someone who says yes to everything. Most of the time, it starts with something much, much smaller. Like one message back, one visit, one coffee, one moment of letting yourself be around someone safe without expecting too much. And then maybe doing it again. Because if anxiety slowly pulls you out of life, then coming back into life usually has to happen slowly too. Gently, bit by bit. So if you are one of these people who tends to isolate a lot, which you probably are if you've made it to the end of the video, I don't think that means you're cold, or selfish, or broken. I think it probably means you've been trying to protect yourself for a long, long time, and isolation has become a tool and a way of fighting back. And maybe that protection and isolation has just gone a bit too far. But disappearing is not who you are as a person. This isn't now your default life. It's something you've fallen into. And that means you can slowly, gently come back from it.